Well, a very good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to the W1 Sim series that takes to your screens here on a Thursday afternoon/evening as we go racing for round number 9 of the season, and that takes us to the Ardennes Forest and takes us to Spa-Francorchamps. My name's Tom Knight, pleasure to be back on your screens again to take you through the next hour and a half or so of racing, and do not worry, we will have the illustrious, the man himself, Mr. Carl Peranic, coming to join us in the next few moments. He will be joining us as soon as he's back from work, but do not fear, I'm here to bring you all of the news that you might need to do as we get ready to go racing. It's been a thrilling championship fight so far, and one that I'm sure will continue as we head on to the back half of the season. We're on round 6 of 10 total rounds, and we can go have a look at how our calendar does indeed line up. If I can find the button for it. There it is. Let's go have a little look. As you can tell, I'm feeling a little bit rusty here today, so you might have to bear with me on this one. But here we go then. This is our season's calendar that we've had for the first round, or the first season of W1 so far. We headed to Australia before heading to Japan. We then had Bahrain, Austria, and Silverstone, where we've had 3 different winners come across over those opening 5 races. Of course, Lee Woodward, who I believe tops the standings, winning 3 out of the 5 races. It was Willow Keeble who won in Bahrain, and of course Emma Clay winning in Japan as well. So there's been some fantastic races, some fantastic victories all across this calendar so far, and we've still got 5 more rounds of it to go across. We've got Belgium tonight for round number 6 before heading to the Temple of Speed for round number 7. We then head to Qatar, Abu Dhabi and Brazil to finish off this season's calendar. And who knows what could be in store for a second season as well. And worth remembering that all of our drivers, they were the ones that voted for this calendar. They had the opportunity to pick whichever tracks they most liked racing inside of F1 25. And these, in fact, were the 10 that were the most popular amongst our field and amongst our grid as well. Whilst we're at it, let's have a look at the standings, shall we? Let's see how it rocks out after Britain. And as we said, it is Lee Woodward that tops those standings with 105 points. Rebecca Morel stands in second with 98 to her name, with Emma Clay picking up 3rd place, 91 for herself. We then have Theo King, Muller, Ball, Keeble, Nutrix, Omerod and Mayuki Panda standing in the top 10 at the moment, with Omerod, Machuka, Hardy, Smith, Marchi, Janda, Edmonds, Heather, Annie Crevice and Peshkovsky Turner. I think I said that right. Hopefully I did. If not, my apologies, Jen. They are the top 20 for the first opening 5 races of this season. We're ready though, or almost ready to go racing, but I want to hear from you whilst we have this brief moment of reflection and calm and consideration as we get into racing at Belgium. Who you think is going to take either a qualifying pole position here today, or potentially could take the race win as well. If you can cast your minds back to the opening 5 rounds, it was just one singular pole sitter over the entire 5. Rebecca Morel, absolutely a dominating force in qualifying so far. Is she going to be able to go 6 for 6 tonight? Who knows? It's certainly one that we would not want to try and roll out. And talking of race winners, can Lee Woodward maybe go for a 4th win? Are we going to see either Clay or Keeble go for a 2nd win to their name? Or are we going to see a complete new race winner here this afternoon? Of course, we've had not 1, not 2, not 3 or 4, but 5 new reservists step in for tonight's race. They all signed up when sign-ups opened at the end of season 5, round 5. And they have all had the opportunity to make it their debut here this evening. I'm so looking forward to introducing each and every one of them as we get qualifying and we get racing as well. I'm sure they will all have their moment on the cards as well. Do they get Inter's pole? No Inter's pole here in the W1 series. That is something that I believe is strictly taken just with the Creator Series as well. But alas, we do have points for many, many things. Fastest lap, of course, for pole position as well. I don't think they have a point for pole position. It's all explained on our Instagram and our TikTok as well. It's great over there. Whoever runs the socials should probably get a raise. I'm just pointing at individual people because they are all fantastic. All people that work behind the scenes, and you can see there in the Twitch chat. If you're not following on the socials already, why not drop them a follow? Because they are fantastic. They keep you updated. And you might be able to get a sneak peek of the 5 new reservists that are stepping in tonight. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Go have a look at those. But we are going to see how our drivers prepare for this race, how they get ready. We had an interview with Heather, actually, during the week, how her first 5 rounds of league racing experience were teaching her and how she found them as well. Of course, coming off the back of her first ever league racing points after round 4, heading into Silverstone, where she felt the pressure was somewhat mounting up, you could say. It was a weird turn of events. You've scored points, the pressure should be off, but actually, I think our driver feeling even more pressure to score even more points, but pushing herself forward nonetheless. It's absolutely what we love to see about drivers in the league. But let us know your predictions early on. We're probably about a minute away from qualifying, so we are very, very close, I promise you that. But let us know your predictions in the chat for who you think is going to take pole position here tonight in the Ardennes Forest. Of course, one of the longest circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, so most drivers will not get their traditional 3 or maybe 4 runs if they're lucky. They're really going to have to time their outlaps well here if they wish to try and score some good points and get themselves well qualified for what will only be a 22-lap race. Being said by Mikey Panda, Heather's going to get pole. Who knows? Anything could be on the cards here today. And of course, we may see some inclement weather as well. It's not something we've had very often in the W1 Sim series. I believe only rained just the one time back a couple of rounds ago. Who knows? We could see some in the Ardennes Forest here today, especially with how long the circuit is. It has been known sometimes to rain at one end of the circuit when the other end is completely bone dry. Now, whilst we don't necessarily have physics like that here on F125, it is certainly maybe a precursor to what we could see in upcoming F1 titles. I'm so glad to inform you, though, that it is dry, at least for the moment in terms of qualifying, and we are just moments away from throwing over until we get ready. There are 18 ladies on the grid here this afternoon. They're all ready to get racing. I'm ready to get going. I hope you are in chat as well. Let's head over and have a look at our venue for this evening. So here we go then, preparations beginning for the opening laps here of round 6 of the W1 series. If it rains, we blame you. I wouldn't say no, because I like a little bit of rain in an F1 race, and it is going to be the McLaren of Sharkstorm. Lee Woodward, of course, our championship leader as it stands, making their way out of pit road first. Of course, British driver by nationality making their way up to Eau Rouge and Raidillon. We'll talk about the drivers that aren't here this afternoon. So Martin Smith, I believe, one of the Williams, not making it here. Unfortunately, last-minute family commitments. They weren't able to make the race. And Mayuki Panda, who's dealing with some personal issues as well. She is in chat. It's absolutely fantastic to see you here, Mayuki. Our thoughts and our prayers are all with you at the moment as well. But as we get ready for qualifying, there's just over 16 and a half minutes on the clock. Let's see how this goes. As they head down in towards that tight hairpin, it's a really tricky one to get right here because it is a decreasing. You are heading down the mountain, so to speak, whilst trying to get the car turned around, and then immediately have to set your sights on Poulon just in front of you because you have to get that absolutely right. There is no room for mistake with a lap here at the Ardennes Forest at Spa-Francorchamps. And our drivers, I'm sure, are all aware of that here this afternoon as well. In towards this little chicane they go, trying to get this right and just trying to get the tyres up to temperature. And I'll tell you what, we can have a quick look at how the tyres are doing on the car of Sharkstorm. You see those surface temperatures just fluctuating at the moment as they throw the car left and right, trying to get as much heat into the carcass of the tyres as they possibly can. We'll keep an eye as well as they make their way through. In towards the bus stop chicane they go then. This will be the first lap to kick off what will be a number of laps for all of our drivers here this afternoon. Qualifying for Spa begins with Lee Woodward. In towards La Source they go. A make or break corner for the lap. A little locking of those front tyres. Wonder if they're going to try and back out early, but it looks like they're going to commit now on the run down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Are they going to try and be brave? Are they going to try and pin it from the first run up the hill? They certainly are looking confident as they keep that foot flat to the floor and will allow that rear DRS wing to open up in the run down towards the Lacombe chicane. Again, a very tricky braking zone. One you have to get right because you're still only just making your way out of that first sector. The car just wanting to kick out a little bit there on Woodward as they head in towards this second sector, a technical sector because it is filled of so many medium speed corners, but all of them you are egging the car on more and more and more to try and push more and more and more in every single twist and every single turn, and they have to try and get it right now. Woodward in towards Pouon they will go. A fast left-hander, and they are absolutely flowing through that as quick as they possibly can because this is not a corner you want to try and get wrong. Just been told as well by one of our staff members that standings graphic was wrong, so I will get that corrected as soon as I possibly can, or I'll try and have an explanation as soon as I possibly can, but we will ride on board still with Lee Woodward as they run down towards the end of this opening lap. 14 minutes on the clock with the majority of our drivers out of the pits at the moment and heading in towards the bus stop chicane. You can probably recognise a few of the new names on the leaderboard on the left-hand side. Have a guess at who they might be in terms of the new reservists that are stepping in, but Sharkstorm, Lee Woodward up towards the line, set the benchmark for this afternoon. It's a 1:42.576. Behind them will be the Hasker. I believe one of the new reservists is indeed. It's Graffalo, also known as Katie, and they run up towards the line. Unfortunately, an invalidated run in their first ever appearance here in the W1 Series. Heather goes second fastest, a 45.133 to her name, with Melissa Muller just bringing up second place now, and that's a new one. That is going to be Alexis Mason going fastest. One of the new reservists here this afternoon, stepping into the Racing Bull. The English driver going fastest with still 13 and some change on the clock. But an opportunity for all of our drivers to set improved lap times. Missed Neutrix into the 142s as well, and this is absolutely fantastic so far. The Aston Martin driver sits in third place at the moment with Melanie Jander sat in fifth as well, and Rustic Bone, again, another reservist stepping in here this afternoon. That'll be Regan, who makes their appearance for the first time on this stage, slotting into sixth place for Team Kick Sauber. And now, folks, I'm so glad, because it's not just me here. We have got the one, the only, Mr. Carl Paranek is back, everybody. Say hello, Carl.
Can't go on like this, can it? Oh, it can. Oh, it absolutely can. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. A very good evening, or morning, or afternoon to you all, depending on where you're watching. Round number 6. Second stanza of W1 Sim Series Season number 1. 18 of the very best. Boy, we're in for a firecracker. And already, a new face at the top. Alexis Mason in the V-Carb. Going for that Ultra Dragon Ball strat of just blowing the opposition out of the water. Absolutely love to see it. And maybe a new challenger, not only to Mr. Sharkstorm, Lee Woodward, championship leader, but also to the qualifying queen. That is Speed Queen by name and by nature, as Alexis Mason takes a trip to the sandbox.
It absolutely is, and during this time, I think it's probably an appropriate time to bring up the names of the 5 new reservists, Carl. We've cooked up something nice here, as all of them get a nice little graphic there. Vanessa, Katie, Aliti, Regan, and of course, Alexis, the 5 new names that are taking to your screens here this afternoon. And we are expecting to see how they try and go, how they try and develop as well. Because as we said, it's a very strong start here for Alexis, isn't it? They've gone out the gates nice and early. They're fastest by 1.5 tenths already, but never count out Speed Queen, surely.
Never ever count them out. All the pole positions belong to their corner so far. Could it be 6 for 6? Could that really be the story of Spa? as we end qualifying. You just never know. As Stark Loki, quite the antithesis of Marvel's heroes and villains. However, there's nothing antithesis at all about the way Puon was taken. Full commitment, absolutely fantastic levels of grip and grit, driving the Mercedes all the way through this second chicane, and then it's that tricky Stavolo corner, that first one, where you have to set it up into the second one. You have to carry all the confidence you can in order to extract the most out of the car, down towards that final bus stop chicane. Speed Queen has set a time, by the way, currently a second off the competition, not the way that Rebecca Morel would have started her charge for 6 pole positions whatsoever, as Hostetler makes their way through the bus stop chicane, all out of whack through the first part, but it is a nice Tokyo drift in conjunction with some video game series that might be happening at some point down the line. It's a 47.3. It is a clean lap on the board. Not a bad start.
Absolutely is. And by the look of it, our live speed is buggy, which is absolutely lovely. It had to happen at some point, right? But fear not, we'll try and get that fixed as soon as I possibly can. But we're watching on board with Catherine Theo-King, of course, the American driver heading through the middle section now, trying to run up towards the line, see what they can do as their benchmark time with just under 10 minutes, and they are going fastest. They're the first driver here into the 141s. It's a 141.935 here, Carl, and the opportunity to go even quicker. I think it's just opened up that realm of possibilities for many of our drivers. They've got a new target to try and catch, and you know, as everyone says when they're racing, it's so easy to be the one that is chasing versus the one that is defending, and I think the same will apply in qualifying.
Couldn't agree more with you, absolutely, but that is a storming statement from Catherine Theo-King. Half a second clear of anybody else. That is a mighty impressive effort from the V. It's a V-carb 1-2. How about this? Speed Queen's in 8th, Lee Woodward's in 3rd, V-carb are on the charge. By the way, hello to that French show Beau, Penguin Victoria and Miyuki Panda. Appreciate you lots. Always good. I am now here. Again, I'm sorry for my lateness. Elite enters the pit lane, but Alexis Mason on an outlap. Lee Woodward very much not on an outlap. They are pushing the foot to the floor all the way through. And we'll see the rate of improvement in this track as well. They cannot afford mistakes. In contrast to a lot of the tracks we've had this season, Spa, longest on the calendar by distance, you cannot fall around. You have to get that lap time in. Any invalidation, any loss of lap time it just absolutely curtails any hopes you might have had.
You're absolutely right. In towards the source then goes Alexis Mason, trying to reclaim top spot of this qualifying timing tower. Yellow flags flying in the 3rd and final sector. I believe that's just one of the Mercedes going slowly. Preparations for their own lap beginning, but on the run down towards the Les Combes chicane now for themselves. Can they try and desettle unthrown Catherine Theo-King that stands atop? They'll need to find just shy of half a second, and they've made 3,000s in the first sector alone here, Carl.
Probably this technical sector 2 where it's going to be a little bit more open, where they just have to flow the car on through, down through the right-hander and then into no-name. Hug the inside as much as you can, wash the car out wide, and then you basically don't brake. You lift off, use all of the track you can, and now you have to commit. Does Alexis Mason dare to lift through Buon? If they don't, but it has cost them an invalidation on the outside of the left-hander. It's bound to happen. It's not the first, and it certainly won't be the last, as championship leader Lee Woodward reinstates themselves as the one that is being hunted. Championship leader, current pole sitter, 41.8. That is scorching.
That absolutely is scorching. A fantastic drive for them so far. And the opportunity opens itself up. We've just over 7 minutes to go here in qualifying. Lots of other drivers still to set their lap time. Speed Queen by name, Speed Queen by nature. That is Rebecca Morel, fastest in the opening 5 qualifying round of the season. That is all 5 of the opening qualifying round so far, Carl. Let's have a see in what their second run is going to cook up, because I have a feeling it's going to be a good lap. But we've seen it so many times before that it is that final run where Rebecca just seems to pull a lap out of thin air.
They need to decide, though, if this is going to be the lap. If it isn't the lap, by the time they get to the pit lane and change the tyres, it's not much time to prepare around Spa, particularly with 6.5 minutes to go, as they're rapidly approaching halfway through their second lap in anger. Again, try and hug the inside. A much narrower line taken by the Red Bull Maestro as Jessica Ball moves up into the 1 minute 42s. P6 now in a very green lean sandwich. But what can her teammate do? Rebecca Morell, 6 poles to the good. Emma Clay is also improving, nearly a couple of tenths worth. To the end of Sector 2 goes the Aston Martin. Teammate Miss Nutrix moves up to P5. They've quietly gone under the radar. Cracking qualifying session from them so far.
I'll tell you what, I echo your comments here. Miss Nutrix gone under the radar here in qualifying. A fantastic result so far, starting up in the top 5. I think certainly one she'll be happy with, but we all know in towards the source and the run up towards O'Radion, especially when we have 18 cars bunched together, all fighting for moments on track. That is sometimes where you need to hold your nerve, isn't it? When we get into that lap 1 situation, and Emma Clay, as we said earlier, was going fastest. She does go fastest. A 1:41.768 for Clay herself.
Speed Queen with a much more representative time as well, 41.9, but now these two have to make high time to get back to the pit lane. At a rapid rate of knots, there's not much to get back, fit on a new set of softs, and then go again. But the track ever improving, as you can clearly see, as we look to Regan Boylan in the kick Sauber through that source. There you go, and now it's the descent down towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the rustic bone. Nothing old about this one, though. This is very much a modern push through in Formula 1. The green machine, DRS wide open. Will it be an improvement? They have absolutely knackered the battery. They might well have already set a lap time. You have no idea. They are only 37 thousandths down, though. So maybe a lot of battery saving to do. We shall soon find out.
We certainly shall. I think a lap so far that is going to be just getting back to the pits, because we're in that stage now. 4 minutes and 26 seconds left on that qualifying clock. I appreciate it's not up on your screens at the moment, covered by that rather frustrating yellow flag segment that we can't move for love nor money. But it is just over 4 minutes left in this qualifying session. Lots of drivers making their way back to the pits, including most of our reservists as well. Graffo, of course, that's Katie Grafton, the Welsh driver, making her way back to the pits as well in preparation for these final runs now. I've seen the Swiss driver, Vanessa Hostetler, making her way out the pits, just down in 16th place. The other Mercedes, they're just going to get prepped and ready, and it looks like just a slow and a calm, cool, collected outlap here, Carl. Just the opportunity to get your mind together before what I think will be the first of the final runs.
Couldn't agree more with you. This is it. Final flurry is very much on the cards. I think Emma Clay and Speed Queen, good news for fans of the two drivers. They're back in the pit lane. They're going to have plenty of time to fit on new tyres and go out for one final push here in this qualifying session. I'll tell you who I am impressed with. Is, well, this was firstly a big welcome to the 5 newcomers. They're doing an absolutely sterling job as Elite makes their way through the final chicane. The bus stop, as it's called, super clunky, super pinched out, but it's a second's worth of improvement and not too far, only a whisker away from picking up a place. So great effort from the Alpine driver. It's actually the other Mercedes of Heather. We saw her on W1's Instagram. She's talked, well, in W1's socials, rather. She's made no secret that she feels like there's a little bit of pressure on her. She has a little bit of a target on her own back, in a sense, to keep improving, to keep finding those new and improved ascensions up the order. She's done a great job at that. Despite that, Silverstone was an indication of that. Currently sits in the top 10 in qualifying. She's having a wonderful run out there.
I'll say top 10 in qualifying, absolutely fantastic standing at the moment. She's got one more opportunity to go and set a faster lap time, and we know the track is going to ramp up. It's sitting at about 28 degrees at the moment. It's a lovely 19 degrees in the air. Not necessarily where you need a jacket, but maybe a little bit too cold to wear a t-shirt. But we are getting ready to go racing. The fans already, you can see them in there. Literal thousands at the edge of this circuit. Every kilometre of the entire 7 kilometres that this circuit is, they're all ready to cheer on some absolutely fast drivers. And I'm going to switch back to the Swiss driver, of course, Vanessa, who will be the first to set the final runs here, Carl, as they run up towards Les Combes.
Nothing else, flag is a big plus. But we'll see what the Sector 1 split says as DRS is wide open, punching a hole through the air, and it's 91 thousandths. It's a tenth worth of an improvement, cutting the curbs nicely through the Les Combes chicane, then through the right-hander of Malmedy. Now it's down the hill we go. Brake as late as you dare. When that curb starts on the outside, consider stamping on the brake pedal, getting the car stopped. It's a tricky braking zone, all downhill now as we head towards Pouhon. Such an undulating track. You've got to love Spa-Francorchamps. It's absolutely brilliant. All the undulations, the elevations, the technicalities of some of the corners we have, the bravery and the boldness needed, and all of these drivers, well, passing the test absolutely beautifully, as the Swiss driver is now going to head through Stavelot 1.
She absolutely is. I'm curious on the battery here, because in Hot Lab, and has been in Hot Lab for a considerable amount of time, and it is not drained. I think that might be more on my side than the driver's side. Do not fear it, but I think that is just a bit of an issue with the live crash. I'll try and get that fixed between qualifying and the race. But at the moment, Vanessa running down towards the bus stop chicane, looking to try and make an improvement on 16th, where she stands at the moment. Her teammate Eva up in 10th place and looking to try and challenge further up the top 10. But for the moment, Vanessa runs through the final corner to set the first of the last lap times, goes 0.8 of a second quicker, goes 15th fastest, and now the final other runs are in effect here. Sharkstorm through the first corner, and on the run up towards Eau Rouge and Radion, Theo King as well. We also got the new reservists, the likes of Alexis Mason in 5th place. Willow Keeble, of course, race winner in Bahrain a few weeks ago, going 3.5 tenths faster through this back sector. Can they try and find some crucial time in towards the bus stop chicane here?
Here we go, slam on the anchors. Does the Alpine driver, is it excellence in Enstone? Or is it an envious lap for the rest of the grid to challenge? Or does it fall by the wayside? All the battery used up to P5. 7.5 tenths worth of improvement. This is the magic of Spa-Francorchamps, though. As Menely Janda peels into the pit lane. It's a retreat for the Ferrari driver. The beauty of Spa-Francorchamps, though, is just how long this lap is. A purple sector 2 for Alexis Mason. Now those times will come flooding in. The great news is, track is so long, we have to hold our breath even more before we find out who prizes pole away. The bad news for us too is that the track is so long, we have to wait to see who prizes pole position away. But that's the beauty of Belgium. Bus stop chicane complete. Does Alexis Mason put themselves onto pole? It's agonisingly close. It's into P2, but look how long the track is. We still have so many names to come and take that gauntlet away.
We absolutely do. Heather up towards the line, stays 10th fastest, could not improve that time around. Next across the line will be Woodward, going just under a 10.5 quicker through the bus stop chicane. She will go, and the run up towards the line needs just over a 10.5. Sharkstorm, Lee Woodward goes quickest for the time being. Next across the line, though, will be Vanessa. Next car across the line for the team Mercedes. Up towards the line she goes, 15th fastest now. Melissa Muller cannot improve, or can improve, but doesn't improve in terms of place. Jess Ball will stay 8th fastest. It's a mixture now of the Aston Martins coming through the final corner. Emma Clay cannot go quicker than second fastest. Miss Nutrix up towards the line as well, stays 7th fastest behind her. Speed Queen cannot take pole position. We will have a new pole sitter here tonight, and at the moment it's looking like it could be Woodward.
Looks like it will be Woodward. There's your qualifying laps for you, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Woodward finally breaks the pole position dark. Finally, someone dethroned Speed Queen in qualifying, but maybe that is the devil off the shoulder of the Red Bull driver. Maybe that is exactly what she needs to get that race win on the board without that pressure of putting it on pole, the expectation to deliver. But championship leader Lee Woodward, she has done everything right. We have a new pole sitter. It only took until the start of the second half.
Well, this is interesting then. 5 rounds have come before us. We head on to number 6 here with a new pole sitter. Lee Woodward, for the first time in their career in W1, will take the crown away from Rebecca Morel. She will still start in 3rd place. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's an incredible qualifying run, which was only 24 thousandths off the back of the McLaren. Emma Clay only 15 thousandths off the back of Woodward's time. So the top 3 separated by less than a quarter of a tenth of a second. That is minimal margins between that top 3, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That just makes me even more excited for the race coming up, because if that's the margins in qualifying, you just know how the race is going to go. But we have a new pole sitter, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Woodward, championship leader. Emma Clay went under the radar, a whisker away from prizing it, as was Speed Queen, but it's a Brit 1, 2, 3. Alexis Mason in P4 with Catherine Thiel-King in 5th, Willow Keeble in 6th, Miss Nutrix, Jessica Ball, Melissa Muller, and Nicole Machuca round out the top 10. Hevar, P11, Rustic Bone, Cutie Bunny in 13th with Grafo, the Swiss driver of Vanessa in 15th, Melanie Janda, Aliti, and Carlotta Marchi rounds out our grid lineup. There you go. That's qualifying for you. I almost think Speed Queen got a bit unlucky. I forgot to mention it, but I think it was Nicole Machuca. She just got bottlenecked in behind. So maybe just a slight piece of misfortune. But either way, to get that close, highly commendable effort.
You're absolutely right. It was so close, quite literally by the barest of margins as well. And it was just not to be, I think is probably the best way to put it, wasn't it? It was just, they tried to get it done and they just could not at the final time of asking. And you know, sometimes that is heartbreaking itself, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. But, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. 5 pole positions in a row. The first 5 of the whole W1 Sim series is nothing to turn your snout up at. That is a mighty, mighty impressive effort. And like I say, maybe that just relieves psychological pressure a little bit. The fact there is not that weight of expectation of pole position, delivering that every single time. And now it's just a case of they can relax a little bit more. They can just put full focus onto the race where they now are the hunter. They don't have to worry about getting the best start they can and leading into turn number 1. Just shifts that momentum a little bit.
You're absolutely right. And hopefully, just once we get ourselves prepared, I have no idea what's going on. Has the race started? I'm very confused. I've been told to retire from the race. That's fine. I had a major panic moment there because I'm trying to sort stuff in the background and I saw everybody start. I knew we had 2 minutes before we get ready to go racing. And then I see all the cars start. So mini heart attack for me there. But thankfully, we have got a couple of moments in Carl. I think what I was going to say is I fixed, hopefully, the live speed issue that we were having where the numbers were bouncing slightly all over the place. If not, it's something else entirely and it'll have to be wait till next stream.
Well, to be fair, pole position was very much a lottery game until the very end. You just didn't know, but that's what's great about Belgium. We can now sort of relax after qualifying. We don't have to worry about that. The Camelot are back on that particular front, which is great news. I think, you know, who do we have as highlights? Obviously, Lee Woodward as a highlight in qualifying. Obviously has to be. I think Alexis Mason was very impressive as well. Straight out of the gate, first race in W1 Sim Series, puts it right up at the sharp end. Fair play to yourself. That's one of my standouts from qualifying. I don't know about you, TK, but she's right up there for me.
I'd agree. I think almost everybody has improved in some way. I think massive shout out to the 5 reserves. They've all come in and improved themselves in many much the same attitude. Obviously, we've got all 5 in. So the likes of Regan, Katie, Vanessa, Aliti, Alexis, those 5 that have stepped in at, I don't want to say short notice because it wasn't short notice, but they've stepped in, they've taken to one of the, if not the hardest track on the calendar, just by length, if not anything else. It's over 7 kilometers long. And if you ever want to hear a rant about why it shouldn't be on the calendar, go hear Mr. McGinley, because Kieran has a long rant for you. And you're welcome for the 12 minutes of your life. You'll probably never get back from that one. But it's a fantastic circuit, one that is ingrained in the history in Formula 1, but also one of the toughest challenges to set your first ever proving ground on.
Oh, for sure. You've got all of that. Thing is, you've got such a long waiting time between each braking zone as well. So if you mess one up, you've got almost too much thinking time to then go, right, now I have to get this one right. Oh, no. Oh, now it's time for the next one. Oh, wait, it's 7 kilometers away. I don't know. That's both the beauty and the crux of Spa-Francorchamps in many ways. But I think, do you know what? Actually, also in the reserve camp, Vanessa Hostetler did 2 laps in a row. Might have Stark and low-key in their name. Nothing low-key, only destined for glorious purpose. 2 laps in a row, and they improved every single time, which on this game is quite a feat to do. So fair play to yourself. Do you know what? Just a credit to the whole league, really, because the overall uplifting of every single driver, whether it's their first time, whether they are, by figurative terms, a seasoned veteran, having done 6 races this season so far, either way, the actual atmosphere and uplifting one another is just what makes this place absolutely beautiful. And we want to hear that as well. So let us know who you think is going to win the race coming up.
I concur. Carl, you've already been clipped in what you've said to Alexis. They obviously are watching the stream. So, hi, Alexis. Because I saw them put it in the driver chat. And they basically quoted you straight for straight and just gone, Carl. So, welcome in. I know a lot of the drivers do watch the stream, which is oh so fantastic that they do. And also welcome in if you are watching. This is a lobby reset, just to keep you updated as well. But, of course, let's talk about who we're rooting for. We got the gaming writer, NL, I'm assuming that sometimes is a flag. Miss Nutrix and Heather, who they're rating for. I wonder, this is the first time I'm going to try this, if Heather is waiting maybe for some inclement weather.
I like that.
Thank you.
Do you know what? I'll accept that. Yeah. That was pretty good. We might well see it. We might well see it at Spa-Francorchamps. Again, another one of the many elements that the drivers will have to deal with, including surprise. Dabaloo09, I'm so sorry if I've said your name wrong. I'm rooting for Elite. Excellent. Great stuff, Elite. Great stuff in your first qualifying session. Got a clean lap on the board. You've made a name for yourself. Welcome in. It's great to have you. We'll see how many more people. That dusty guy. Listen, I don't know what to tell you, but he says, let's go rustic. Something poetic about that, in my opinion. But regardless, I think that top 3 battle was going to be very interesting. Less than half a tenth separated them. In fact, less than a quarter.
Less than a quarter, yeah. It was incredibly close.
Them. Ridiculous, honestly. Absolutely ridiculous. That battle will be one for the ages tonight.
You're talking of poetry in motion as well, and I think there's one very poetic thing that we've got the Australian subbing in for the Australian. Of course, Elite taking Annie Crevice's seat here today. I believe they've got tickets from what they've told us to go and see, I've forgotten the name of them now, whoever sings Pink Pony Club. That's the only song I know of
Chapel Roan, yeah.
Chapel Roan, that's it. They've gone to watch them tonight. So you know what, Annie, if you're watching the stream back, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic time because their songs are pretty good.
They are. Couldn't agree more with you. Could not agree more. Might have Chapel in their name. There is something quite unholy about the race you're about to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Miyuki goes, I'm here cheering for the others with you. Yes, Miyuki. Love that from you. Absolutely brilliant. Like I say, uplifting. What more can you ask for? Who else? Wanted to cheer for Andy Crevice and Miyuki Panda, but I can't. Well, look, they will be back. We promise. They shall be back at some point. But Spa, oh gosh, Spa's an interesting one, isn't it? Mostly because the tyre compound's quite interesting. I think the hard is 2 steps a harder compound than the medium.
Yeah.
So that obviously opens up a pretty decent one-stop. Gotta be careful. We've seen it in series recently gone by. If you start on the hard tyre, it's quite a painful experience.
We've had a conversation in the chat. This is from Lee Woodward, of course, one of the the pole sitter, the new pole sitter for round 6. I want one of the new reserve drivers on the podium. I'll tell you what, that would be absolutely fantastic. I think one that would be somewhat written in the stars to come into quite possibly that could be their very first league race. Of course, a few of the women and girls have got prior league racing experience, so we don't assume that it's everybody's first time, but first time in W1 nonetheless. To come in and get a podium, surely that sets a precedent, right?
Oh, really? Oh, God, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, Alexis Mason, forefront of that conversation based on grid position, but I smell a lottery happening at Spa-Francorchamps, kind of like at what we had at Japan, where it was all sort of, it was kind of a procession, you knew the status quo, suddenly exploded into life, massive crash, safety car, everything flipped on its head in an instant. I feel like Spa's one of those tracks where that could happen again. I am all for it, but who knows? To see a reserve on the podium would be absolutely excellent. In many ways, there's many scripts that we need to settle. Rebecca Morel getting her first race win. Feels like it's been brewing for a long time. 5 pole positions to the good. Needs a race win to the good. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, first podium of the entire season was last week. After everything. Yeah. Which is really quite an unbelievable statistic. But podium's on the board. Win is entirely possible now.
So being told, Rustics, also known as Regan, is her racing debut. So far, a brilliant performance. Not only to have this fantastic start, but qualified up in 12th as well. So in their racing debut, 12th place on the grid, that is absolutely fantastic. And, if they come back race after race, round after round, by round 10, we're going to see that whole new level of confidence, very much to what we've seen with a lot of the drivers over this opening half of the calendar, where the confidence just builds as you race these people more and more.
Sure thing. We've seen it with so many people as well. Heather's the main example I always cherry pick, but she is the primary example that I use in terms of, think about how the start of the season kind of went. She was finding her feet, a bit nervous at times, but now you can tell the confidence has just ramped up more and more. She's having more fun battling other people. She's got a very calm head in the race engineering box. We see, don't worry. But it's all a good help, and it's all excellent, excellent learning. It's the same for so many other people as well. I think even the people at the front, despite the margins being so close and you think there's not that much more of a ceiling to try and find, there's always something you can find. You can tell they're pushing it more and more. If that quarter of a second difference in qualifying was any indication, they are getting more and more work into league racing, and it's wonderful to see up and down the grid.
Absolutely are, and I think what we're also seeing now is more and more initiatives starting to come out from league racing and esports in general. Like, I've seen Screen to Speed has started to come into its own once again. I think our very own Jess Ball has become an ambassador for them. I believe that's on iRacing's platform, but there are so many more of these initiatives that are starting to come into the light and come to fruition, which is absolutely fantastic, because the more opportunities that they get to race wheel to wheel in these environments that are not necessarily, I don't want to say, you know, playing it safe, but it's going to be one that I think is only going to benefit the drivers down the line. I saw a message get deleted, but I think it's fair enough that we let it slide. Hear me out. A huge crash at the end of the Kemmel Straight lap 1. Aliti wins the race from 17th. You know what? Anything can happen, and you know what? Cinema.
Welcome 1998, Spa-Francorchamps, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Get the heavy rain in. Let the heavens open. Let there be carnage. I'm so here for it. As the snail next door says, let's go, Catherine. Expect their next message in about 1 month, once they've managed to just about get into view.
they just slid over to the enter key and just about got there. That message has been waiting since round 1, everybody.
Actually,
so yeah.
It's a hard life being the snail next door, but you know what? Fair play. Honestly.
The fact that you've got to break into your neighbour's house first and then send the message, that's the most difficult bit about it.
Oh, that's it. And they've managed even to hit the follow button in that time. That's been pending since the first week as well. That is unbelievable. So, honestly, credit where credit is due. That is a Warriors mentality from you. We'll
see you in round 10.
What time? We see you in round 10. Exactly, yeah. Do you know what? Speaking of, shall we have a look at the calendar?
Let's have a look at the calendar, shall we?
Go on, then. Well, obviously, we've had the first half of the season. Australia, Japan, Bahrain, Austria, Silverstone. 5 of the very best. A high 5 of absolute thrills and spills. We now head to the second stanza, though, and what will be, I have no doubt, a scintillating spectacle. Belgium being that first Infinity Stone to check off the list. Monza, though, Temple of Speed next week, round number 7, and then it's off to the Middle East for a little bit of a trip. First of all, round number 8 is at Qatar. TK, I mean, we got a great next 3 rounds, but also those last 2 rounds couldn't have a better order, could you?
You're absolutely right, as it should be in real life as well. One that I'm very, very going to argue the point about, that Brazil should be the season closer for every single season of Formula 1 ever, because it is just one of the best tracks on the calendar, and I will not hear anything about it. However, slightly more heartbreaking, I won't be here for Brazil and or Qatar, as I've unfortunately got commitments elsewhere, but I'm gutted to be missing Brazil, because it is quite possibly my favourite race on the calendar. But you will have, fingers crossed, the wonderful George Morgan back in the commentary box with you.
He'll finally be here, ladies and gentlemen.
Or so he says.
He will arrive. So he says. He will be here, I hope, for sure. Again, just to be clear, calendar voted by the drivers. They know wheel, ladies and gentlemen. Snail next door, by the way, is typing at a rapid rate of knots. If they're not careful, their name's going to have to change quite quickly. That is like the Wasp next door or something with the rate they're typing at.
They're the snail from, is it Turbo? That movie where the snail enters some, like, oval race and just wins mysteriously.
Absorbs nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
You know, classic plotline, really.
Are we going to see the snail on track here this afternoon? That's the question. Like, who's carried them to the paddock?
Many questions, many answers to be had. Miyuki Pandas, but snail opens DRS.
Oh, brilliant. This is fantastic. We've got Matt Zuo. Jess convinced me to give W1 a look, so giving it a gander. So evening, everyone. Evening, Matt. Hope you're well. You are in for some thrilling racing and some horrendous punchlines. But you know what? If the stream doesn't have both, it's probably not worth clicking on, am I right?
Absolutely. Penguin Victoria goes, we've lost all logic now, haven't we? Back to logic then. Driver standings look very interesting, because despite having 3 race wins on the board, not quite as open and shut as it seems. Lee Woodward does lead 105 points to the board, but it's only by 7 points over Rebecca Morel. Emma Clay, a further 7 points behind. In fact, screw it, 7 points for everybody behind everybody. Until you get to Melissa Muller, a little bit more of a gulf, but it is, you can see, quite congested little packs where there is plenty to change should someone get a very decent result. To finish off the top 10, Jessica Ball, Willow Keeble, only 1 point, that's a big chase. Miss Nutrix, Catherine Ormerod, Miyuki Panda rounds out the top 10.
She absolutely does. I'm going to keep talking while my desk stands up, because I was going to do that for the start and hope you keep talking through the top 20. But alas, for the second time on this standings graphic, Catherine Ormerod makes an appearance, but I think Catherine's actually in 9th, not in 11th. We have got a missing driver. I have been told who. My memory's already gone, so apologies. Nicole, Sarah, Martine, Carlotta, Melanie, Katrina Edmonds, Hevar, in 18th with Annie Crevice and Jen Pashkovsky-Turner. I've said it correctly, I hope, and I pray, because I have no idea. Charlotte Perkins, that's who's in 11th place. Thanks, Lee. I couldn't have done that quite literally without you as well. Fabio's in the chat, everybody. He says place your bets. And I tell you what, Carl, whilst we get ready to go racing, shall we have a look at how our driver lineup looks this afternoon?
Shall indeed. Starting off with the Enstone outfit, the Blue Blurs. It's Willow Keeble and Elite making their debut in W1. You then have the Green Machine. Less about testing the better, but that's not what we're here for. It's Emma Clay and Miss Nutrix that are not choking the Honda Power Unit into oblivion. Ferrari, it's Melanie Janda and Carlotta Marchi leading the line for the Scuderia. But over to Toyota Gazoo Haas Race. How long can you make a Formula One name, basically? It's just a challenge at this point. Nicole Machuca and Katie Grafton also making their debut. Massive welcome. And then in the McLaren, it is Lee Woodward, the lone McLaren maestro here today. Starts on pole. Not bad going.
Certainly not. In the Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team, again, another very long name. We've got Heather and Vanessa Hostetler, of course, another reservist taking their first appearance in the W1 series. Catherine Thielking and Alexis Mason step in for the Visa Cash Up Racing Bulls team. I really am getting sick of these rather long names here, Carl. Red Bull Racing, that's a nice and simple one. Rebecca Morel and Jessica Ball, an unchanged lineup from the very beginning. We then head to Kickstake Sauber, Melissa Muller and Regan Boylan making their first appearance in the W1 series as well. With the solo Williams car, Carl, there's only one Sarah Hardy here this afternoon.
I go in the Williams. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Spa-Francorchamps, ladies and gentlemen. We love Spa-Francorchamps. The drivers loved it. That's why it's round number 6 on the calendar. The undulations, the elevations, all of the heartbreak and history in between. But as you can see, all of these corners host so many iconic names and moments. La Source, the descent down to Eau Rouge and up through Radion, the Kemmel Straight, many a crucial overtake being made there. Hakkinen v Schumacher, for example. Les Combes, Pouhon, bus stop chicane. You just keep adding to that endless script of history, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place to be. And what racing we could see.
Who knows, we might even see a Here Comes Vettel moment as we head up Eau Rouge and Radion down the Kemmel Straight. Do not touch that dial, everybody, because this racing is going to be absolutely fantastic. As Fabio said, it's going to be, well, time to get your predictions in the chat. Who do you think's going to lead lap 1 then? That's the early prediction we're going to go for, because as you remember from last time out, Carl, it changed in the first 3 corners at Silverstone. Lee Woodward, as they have done pretty much in every single round, with an amazing launch off the line, claimed the lead as they headed through Village.
They did indeed. Never have done it from pole position, though. That's a different kind of pressure they've got to deal with. So, likes of Emma Clay, likes of Rebecca Morel, might well be waiting in the wings to pick up the pieces as we get underway for the formation lap here at Belgium. And tyre talk, ladies and gentlemen, you knew we'd be here. I imagine it will be mostly mediums for the grid tonight. I see Lee Woodward and Emma Clay have donned the yellow striped compound. Most other drivers will as well, as Rustic Bone and Grapho immediately get disqualified from the formation lap. Not ideal. But this is where it gets interesting. Up through Radion. The first lap at Belgium, while you make it through that first turn unscathed, it's usually afterwards where that slipstream, where the burning of the battery, where that desire to get ahead, to have track position, ultimately takes over those behind. So Lee Woodward has got to be on their toes today.
Let's have a reminder as well of the 5 new reservists that are stepping in here this afternoon. 66, 95, 29, 21 and number 9. Their race numbers respectively. We will see them all on the grid here today, getting ready to go racing. You do not want to miss this, ladies and gentlemen, because it is going to be a fantastic race. Our reservists starting in reverse order: 17th, 15th, 14th, 12th, and of course the other reservists, by the name of Alexis Mason, starting on the second row here, Carl. That's stunning.
I could not agree more with you. And with that opportunity, the swoop in using the outside line, provided they get a good start. Also on that yellow striped medium compound tyre. Honestly, would not be surprised unless someone has gone really bold and gone for the softs. There's your strategy below. A shake my head strategy in the 2-stop department. Probably don't go for that one. It will most likely be a 1-stop, barring any safety cars. I stand corrected. Lee Woodward and Emma Clay start on the hards, as does, I think, Rebecca Morel. Yes, she does. It's then Alexis Mason and so many others starting on the mediums who could really take the advantage at the start.
So this will be a really interesting fight off the line, I reckon. Will the medium tyres be able to get these up to temperature? Will they be able to try and get some bite, some grip into that asphalt as they run up down the Kemmel Straight towards Lake On? Because I think that's where we're going to see the majority of these first moves, down that Kemmel Straight, when they can get the DRS open from the second lap. Of course, not on the first. But as they head in towards Lake On, the slipstream is going to be powerful, Carl. I think we're in for quite literally one of the most thrilling opening laps over the 7-kilometre course that we're about to see. And because I'm slightly losing my voice from football on Tuesday night, I'll hand the reins over to you to let you take us away.
I feel honoured and privileged, ladies and gentlemen. Second stanza of W1 Sim Series. A second half, a cutthroat clash to be had. It all begins here. Spa-Francorchamps. The championship lead, close as it might well ever be. Just 7 points in it. That can change in a heartbeat. Everybody's lined up. I hope you're ready, because as silence falls, the question is asked. It's answered with a symphony of V6 noise. It's Spa-Francorchamps, 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go. Held for almost an eternity, but it's a good start from the championship leader, Lee Woodward. Not such a great start, though, for the preceding hard runners, but the momentum Emma Clay gets is a chance to try and make moves. It's Alexis Mason, though, who's on the move and in the groove, looking to slalom her way through the opposition. No way it's going to be a move into Eau Rouge. The car gets extremely nervous over the curves. Lee Woodward doing everything they need to do to keep the lead, and so they shall. Now it's the slipstream, though, down the Kemmel Straight, 3 wide, towards the Lake On chicane, round the outside, goes Alexis Mason, has to escape off the track, and that will concede first place to Lee Woodward. But for how long, though? Emma Clay goes through, a chance to go down the inside. The carrot was certainly dangled, but now Alexis Mason regains that momentum to go round the outside and then turn to the inside. The new race leader here at Spa-Francorchamps. The pendulum swings so viciously. We're not done yet, though. Emma Clay still biting at the heels of Lee Woodward. A scorching start there, TK, from Alexis Mason.
Absolutely fantastic, and what you would want to see on those medium tyres right off the very offset. Catherine Thielking, the other V-Cub, biting at the ankles of Emma Clay as they run down through pool and in towards that second and third sector, though. Both V-Cubs here have had a fantastic race start, but the hard tyres are the ones we've really got to keep an eye on. They have not fired up as quick as I think our drivers would have been hoping for, because look up at the front here, Carl. It's nearly a second gap already between Mason and Woodward as they run in towards the bus stop chicane. I think Woodward's having to burn some battery to try and keep up with the V-Carb in front.
It's exactly what Alexis Mason wants. Let the McLaren burn the battery. Let the hard tyre runners fight amongst themselves. Because look at the exit. Alexis Mason gets out every single corner, gaining 10th after 10th in every single traction zone. And maybe with an optimal exit out of La Source, Lee Woodward will be out of DRS. It's not quite going to happen. A yellow flag, though. Nicole Machuca is in the gravel at La Source. Devastating for the Haas driver, who had started just inside the top 10. They will regain the track, though. Emma Clay, though. Can she respond to Lee Woodward? Could this be a cutthroat charge towards the championship lead, looking for the outside line? Lee Woodward leaves the space. So much racing room and respect between the two drivers. Lee Woodward wins this one out, though, towards the downhill right-hander. Again, dangles the carrot. Emma Clay shows the nose to the inside. Catherine Thielking, though, it was almost 2 V-Carbs in 2 laps, that took the advantage.
Absolutely fair and fantastic racing between all of our drivers. Left the room, and this is stunning because you want to pinch your opponent as much as you possibly can, but not to the extent where you're going to force them off the circuit. And the battle there between Clay and Woodward was absolutely picturesque. Perfect. Thielking looks to the inside. That was a late change from the V-Carb driver. Couldn't quite get the car stopped in time. There was a little tap front wing to rear diffuser on the Aston Martin, and here comes Willow Keeble, race winner in Bahrain. Round the outside of Thielking she goes and promotes herself up to 4th place. That's 2 positions gained in just as many laps.
Supreme confidence from every single driver. I say this every single week, but the fact that they do not shirk away from a marvellous manoeuvre. Willow Keeble just slaloms on round the outside at Stavilo 1 and 2. Like it's nothing. Miss Nutrix on board with the green machine. on those medium tyres, trying to challenge Jessica Ball for position. Not going to happen at the moment. Alexis Mason leads by nearly 2 seconds here, TK. What a start on those medium tyres, but they've got to make them count because of the steps in compound difference. They've got to make hay while the sun is shining. At the moment, all the absorption is in favour of a fruitful campaign at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's Emma Clay, though, that's looking to make manoeuvres stick.
Absolutely is rearing open for the Aston Martin in a pretty textbook overtake there from McLaren towards Lake Calm, and they've gained about 0.4 of a second on Alexis Mason that stands in first place at the moment. And as you were saying, the advantage that is going to come back to these hard tyre runners when the mediums are able to be bolted on later on in the race, that is when I think Mason will be quaking in her boots, knowing that she's got the likes of Woodward, the likes of Clay, the likes of Keeble, trying to chase her down on fresher tyres as well. We saw back there Katie Grafton making a move on Melanie Jander down the Kemmel Straight with the aiding of DRS, up to 13th place from where she started, just down in 14th.
Getting stuck into the action, very well done from the Haas driver, now leading the line for the American Dream, as Miss Nutrix is still piling on something like insurmountable pressure onto Jessica Ball. But again, that is pressure that she will soak up brilliantly. She has wealth of experience in the league racing space. So any query that Miss Nutrix poses up, you best believe Jessica Ball is going to answer it. Still, Alexis Mason is gaining out in front. Now 2.4 seconds the gap. What Emma Clay and Lee Woodward need to do here is not be silly. They just need to keep sharing that DRS between one another. Keep swapping around that responsibility. What they can't afford to do is battle too hard like they did earlier in the race, because that time gain is so incredibly difficult to regain.
Interestingly enough, last time around, Mason was only 1/10 of a second quicker than Emma Clay on the previous tour, lap 3 of 22 of this circuit so far. So they've brought that time delta down because the medium tyres are starting to enter that crossover period with the harder tyres. And as you said, sharing the DRS between Woodward and Clay is the opportunity that they want to try and promote work together on such the long straight that is Kemmel here. And we look a bit of a fake there. Oh my goodness, the smallest of margins afforded by Clay to Woodward here. And Miss Nutrix now decides to go for the move on Jess Ball in towards the Lake Com chicane. That Aston Martin promotes herself to 8th place.
Not to bide her time. Patience is a virtue. Jessica Ball will look for the momentum gain out of the right-hander. It's not going to happen, though. Miss Nutrix making good progress up the field is the Aston Martin driver. Gap's just stabilising a little bit. It's Carlotta Marchi all over Stark Loki in the Mercedes. Vanessa Holstetler. I can't remember if that's I'm so sorry if that's wrong. But listen, just have a shorter name, man. I'm trying my best. I'm clutching at straws. But they're closing in. They're just breathing down the neck of the Mercedes driver. Half a second the gap. Interestingly, though, Lee Woodward has very quickly thrown away DRS and curtailed their charge. Gap now over a second towards the end of lap number 4.
You're absolutely right. Emma Clay has put her foot down and decided she does not need Lee Woodward to try and challenge up towards the front. 0.6 of a second quicker was Clay this time around compared to Mason as they head in towards the bus stop chicane. I think it's going to be an even greater differential as they come up towards the line. The mediums are a great starting race tyre, but because of the load of the lap and how long it is, yellow flag in the second sector. I think Elite's had a bit of a spin there as they drop down the order 18th place, and you have front wing missing there for the Australian on her debut. But back up towards the front here, Carl. I think this hard tyre is really starting to come into its own now.
You said it. Just a few laps they needed to get it warmed up. As soon as they do, the pace on them and the longevity of the hard tyres is absolutely astonishing. You can't quite believe just how much of retention of pace it has. So Emma Clay, even without DRS, even with the threat of attack from Lee Woodward, the championship leader, still gained time, still got fastest lap of the race. That is just an indication of how good of a race tyre they are. Catherine Thielking, though, in the battle of the medium runners, is going all guns blazing, looking to blast on past Willow Keeble. Not happening at the moment, but very, very close as Elite peels into the pit lane. Emotional damage for sure, but they're still in this race, and they are still very much in with a shout here.
They absolutely are, and of course safety cars could bring them back into contention. All we know is it's one safety car. That field is going to bunch right back up, and Elite is right back into contention here. Carlotta Marchi getting the better of Stark Loki. That's Vanessa Hostetler, the Swiss driver, making her debut here this afternoon, and a tough track to do it at. But again, lots of racing still to happen here at Spa-Francorchamps. Lots of opportunities to try and get those places back. Catherine Thielking still hanging on to the coattails of Willow Keeble in front with Speed Queen. Rebecca Morel still stood in 6th place with an almighty gap further back to Melissa Muller, nearing about four seconds in its entirety.
Absolutely. All stabilising out, but there are crucially plenty of packs of battling. Catherine Thielking is one of them, not choosing to go for a dastardly dive at the bus stop chicane. Just having a little bit of a whistle stop, and then it will be to blast on with DRS. They got a great exit out of bus stop, though. We'll think about a potential move. They are thinking about a potential move into La Source. Show the nose down the inside, but what do? Do you wait for DRS? And I think that's what Catherine Thielking is playing with. Look at Willow Keeble immediately saving the battery. A bit of psychological warfare going on, but it's ammunition. Catherine Thielking has completely backed up in that RB car. The Fury from Faenza. DRS wide open. Break the toe as much as you can. Resistance is futile. Thielking is coming through, or are they? Willow Keeble late on the brakes. It's the block defense to stop the charge of the RB driver. And look who's waiting in the wings. Speed Queen, ready to pounce.
You're absolutely right, and it's a great view that she's getting in this battle as they continue down through that acute right, hairpin in towards No Name, the quick left-hander. They'll try and navigate. Keeble still holding Thielking at bay, but Morel has an absolutely fantastic view of this situation, and look who's slowly sneaking up behind as well. Melissa Muller only, gained a second over the last lap in its entirety as they run down towards that third and final sector, but Emma Clay, within the next lap and a half, I reckon here, Carl, will be within striking distance of our reservist Alexis Mason. Their debut could be coming to a swift, well, not a swift end, but their time in the lead could be coming to a swift end.
What do you do if you're Alexis Mason? That's the question. You know the hards have that longevity, but do you wait it out on those mediums as Emma Clay barges down the door of DRS? She is firmly locked in to that extra surplus of straight line speed. So just had to bide their time on the hard compound tyres, but now they're up to temperature. There could be no stopping the Aston Martin driver as they make their way to the front of this race. Do you go for that early undercut if you are Alexis Mason, knowing that there is that few laps worth of warm-up before they find their pace? Again, Thielking dives left, dives right. It's not a good night, though. Just bide the time a little bit more. It's once again that double-edged sword of do you make the move or do you compromise yourself and not give yourself DRS in the process? Heather having a little bit of a fishtail out of the final corners, but she's slowly been gaining on the Williams car of Sarah Hardy. So plenty of confidence to be found. Just a little bit of a speed bump in that particular road, but can regain it. Catherine Thielking's charge, though, is quelled by Speed Queen, by name and by nature. Into the top 5. Their hard tyres have fired up nicely as well.
Absolutely have, and we can have a quick look into the inside and see what the medium tyres are doing. Just if we look on board with Willow Keeble here for a second, let's pull up that tyre data. Rear tyres 50% and 44% respectively. Let's compare that to the tyres of Rebecca Morel, 25%. And you were speaking about that two-step differential between the mediums and the hards at the moment here, Carl. This is where it's really going to show in these longer runs, where you're able to go just so much longer on a set of the hard tyres, to the point where we're probably expecting to see the medium runners in the next few laps.
So interesting as well, because of the 2 steps harder, you actually don't end up overdoing the temperature of the tyres. Being stuck in that dirty air, having more abrasion going through the tyres. It's all advantage if you use that harder compound. Just have to weather that first storm. Speaking of weathering the storm, Shark Storm is nearly within DRS. So that is the amount of compromise Emma Clay is having to do. Through the bus stop they go for the 7th time, and right on cue, Alexis Mason enters the pit lane. We posed a question, there's our answer.
I tell you what, that's an incredible decision here from Alexis Mason. They opted not to give Emma Clay DRS, of course, the detection point, as you run down towards the hill. So they've pitted in here. They've stopped Emma Clay getting that DRS effectively to have stopped them running further forwards in towards the distance. And they know they're going to peel out probably in the mid-pack somewhere with DRS from another driver. That's a great strategic call from our reservist here tonight.
And Catherine Thielking peeling in as well. A double stack for the RB team. Not sure where the US driver will appear in the context of this race. Presumably, obviously, a tiny bit lower, but how much lower? Will they get out ahead of Heather? No, is the answer to that, but they will get help the hand of DRS. Speed Queen slaloms round the outside at Lecom of Willow Keeble. That's up to P3. That is firmly stamped into the podium places now, but the gulf between Emma Clay and Sharkstorm being stuck behind those medium runners is absolutely astronomical. Field King darts out from the slipstream. Are they going to go for it? They are going to go for it. Brave as you like on the brakes. Heather knows it's not her race to fight. Field King through into P11.
Absolutely fantastic racing we're seeing. I think that was a little thank you there from Theo King to Heather behind. Knew it wasn't her race, as you said, allowed the driver past because she knows that Theo King is off up the road to try and challenge Alexis Mason, Raccoons, that stands in 8th place. And I've only just realised, Carl, that that is Raccoons, just spelt differently.
Absolutely it is. Gotta love it. Raccoon Ultra Fighting Bomber, ladies and gentlemen, in P8. Looking for a superlative spirit bomb on Jessica Porter Headers. Look at the closing speed of Catherine Thielking. That was close to an absolute, well, that was a front wing removal waiting to happen, as Melanie Janda has a little bit of a moment to the exit of Lecom. No damage done on They Carry. Waiting before the bus stop then is the V-Carb driver, Willow Keeble. Peels into the pit lane as Alexis Mason is nearly within DRS of Jessica Ball. That is just how powerful those new tyres are, and Willow Keeble is going to feel those effects very soon.
You're absolutely right. And Theo King now 100 and so kilometres an hour, slamming on the anchors to get it down to just under 80 kilometres an hour. Into the pits goes Cutie Bunny. That is going to be, if my notes come up here, it's going to be Sarah Hardy in towards pit road, along with a considerable number of others. Grafso Katie, one of our new reserves, along with Heather as well. So 3 drivers opting for the pits. Make that 4 as Star Loki Vanessa Hostetler dives into pit road as well. So 4 drivers opting on a very similar strategy to dive into the pits. And here we go. Alexis Mason dispatches Jess Ball. The new hard tyres starting to work for the V-Carb. And you can see the closing speed that they have, Carl, here. They've got to make them work in this optimum working window.
They do indeed, helping Anna DRS as well. That is going to propel Alexis Mason with a outrageous undercut. Miss Nutrix just losing touch of DRS as we have Rustic Bone ghosted. That is not ideal. Regan Boylan, car ghosted in this session. That means the DDoS attack has been at work. And that is suboptimal, for lack of a better term. But their car is pootling around the track. You never know. Could still be a decent result on the card. Heather has emerged. They are now within a second, briefly, of the Williams. Go Williams for the battle for P12 and 13, currently provisionally. Still people ahead to pit. I believe Carlotta Marchi hasn't pit yet. Willow Keeble could be on the move, though, as she sets up her lag switch through Stavolo. And look at that. Phases through the competition. And that is a committed move with Network Gremlins.
Yeah, simple move there for Willow Keeble in the end, of course, on the new hard tyres. Dispatches Rustic Bone. That is going to be Regan Boylan, who is working hard to try and back into the session. Miss Nutrix ops to box then at the end of lap 10, and Raccoons here goes fastest, and that is going to be Alexis Mason back on the charge, up into the top 5 once again. Just 2 seconds up the road is Melissa Muller, and she can see her in her sights on the run down towards Eau Rouge and Rally on the little dip before climbing up the incredible 102.2 metres all the way up towards the Lecom chicane. Catherine Thielkin gets past as well. Miss Nutrix, who's in the pits alongside Rustic Bone, as the AI decides to pit the Kicksauber on the same lap as pretty much everybody else, with Carlotta Marchi also opting for fresh tyres at the end of lap 10.
I must say, an inspired decision from both the RB drivers to get that hard tyre on early, to get rid of the worry of having the warm-up phase by going earlier than everybody else, still getting that undercut. Interestingly, Alexis Mason's fastest lap time, not that much faster than what Emma Clay was doing on those same tyres, but of course, her tyre's now a lot older. TK will have way more information than I do. But I imagine the overall surplus of lap time is going to be quite a decent chunk, as Nicole Machuca looks to be on the move. They'll have DRS towards Eau Rouge.
I can confirm, just under 2/10 is the difference between the fastest lap set by Alexis Mason and the fastest lap set by Emma Clay on equal tyres, but of course weight difference in the car, of course, in terms of fuel level load. And we watch here Nicole Mature just trying to chase down Melanie Janda. On towards the Kemmel Straight they go. This could be a textbook, a rather, well, elementary overtake, shall we say, with the helping of DRS in towards the Lecom chicane, and it certainly is indeed, as they run in towards that chicane down towards the few next corners for themselves as well. well. Raccoons in 5th place now, 7/10 of a second behind Melissa Muller, who is still on the hard tyres. Top 4 are all on the hard tyres at the moment, Carl. That's worth remembering. So they will be starting to not necessarily show their age, but they'll be slightly worse off than brand new hard tyres, won't they?
For sure, absolutely. But again, retention of the hard tyres is immense. Jessica Ball peels into the pit lane, meanwhile. On lap number 11, right as we reach the fulcrum point of round number 6 of W1 Sim Series. A massive shout-outs to Sim Racing Centre, if we haven't said that already. We now have Sim Racing Centre. Massive shout-outs to them. They are absolute legends of the game. Meanwhile, Alexis Mason on this game is absolutely flying. It was qualifying in, well, colour surprise qualifying. It's now soaring and shooting for the stars at Spa in race day. Through to P4 they go. But they have to step on the loud pedal. They cannot afford to sit back, do this whole battery saving, do this whole thinking about tyre management. They can throw all that out of the window. They need to burn rubber, and fast, if they want to consider having a chance of winning this race tonight.
Nicole as well, as they run down towards the sources. Dispatch one Ferrari already, now looks to dispatch a second one in the name of Carlotta Marchi, 14th place in that Ferrari. But Nicole acting rather well at the moment, but it is older tyres for the Haas car that stands in 15th place at the moment. Carlotta Marchi hitting just the last lap on a brand new set of hard tyres, as is Jess Ball, who's opted to go on the last time around, but the helping dose of DRS for Nicole Machuca as they run down towards the late common chicane. Will make this a fairly simple pass once again. In before the braking zone even comes into contention. Cutie Bunny now getting the better of Regan as well as they run through that little kink left-hander. And the Williams just playing, well, not playing chicken with the ghosted car, but certainly not wanting to force them off the circuit. And it's respectable racing, even with the ghosted AI.
Couldn't agree more with you. Sarah Hardy trying to make manoeuvres. Rustic Bone, though, might have been a computerised affair, but they're not going down without a fight. Gap in front, ladies and gentlemen. Haven't talked about it in a while. Emma Clay leads by 3 seconds. Her race pace, while we haven't talked about it much, has been absolutely phenomenal. Really has. Honestly, cannot highlight it enough, as finally Sarah Hardy gets the ghost car in question. She says, I ain't afraid of no ghosts. That's one Williams up to P10, and that makes me very happy indeed.
Absolutely right. And Sharkstorm starting to drag their way forward, trying to chase down Emma Clay across the top 3 and Melissa Muller on equal level of age hard tyres. They're all done 11 laps so far, and we are going to work to try and get Rustic Bone back into the session. Do not fear, everybody. I will do my damnedest, even if I have to invite them myself. Do not worry. We might have a brief pause in the stream. There we go. So we are just going to, I don't know how to, I'm just going to do this live on stream. Screw it. Well, we're going to get our drivers in, everybody, because first and foremost, they are here to race.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. We are crossing lap number 12 onto lap number 13. You have Emma Clay as your leader. You have Lee Woodward trying to chase her down, but she hasn't quite got the pace to try and properly breathe down the neck of the green machine. Speed Queen by name and by nature is P3 with Alexis Mason in P4, finding about a second a lap to Rebecca Morell. Equally, though, Rebecca Morell hasn't quite got the pace of the leading duo, so the gap's sort of stabilising at the moment. Hard tyres not really having that effect, and I do have to say, for the likes of Emma Clay and Lee Woodward, despite how ominous those new hard tyres might look, I don't think it's nearly as bad for them as they might think.
Carl, I've got some good news.
Yes?
Regan is back in the session, everybody.
Yes!
We've done our due diligence. We've got the driver back in. Apologies for the brief pause in the stream, but I thought it was more important that we have all the drivers back in.
Absolutely. To have them racing is what we are here for. Can they get in before Heather activates the lag switch and phases through? Catherine Filking, meanwhile, no lag switch to help out the V-Carb driver. They've got to do it on the track with DRS. Willow Keeble did pit, by the way. Catherine Filking's been biding her time. Managed to make her way to the back of the Alpine. Could this finally be the moment where she makes it stick? 3.5 tenths, that's as close as she's ever been in this dynamic duel here at Spa. DRS wide open, have to burn the battery, but Willow Keeble bravely and actually smartly uses battery at the top of Radion, so Filking doesn't have a chance. It's extremely smart work from the Alpine.
It absolutely is, and we can just have a look at how their battery is indeed doing. We can have a peek into the cockpit, so to say, as they sit about 40% and recharging as they go downhill. And again, a very simple situation. You can use that kinetic energy transferred through the MGUK, just making sure that you can recharge the battery as much as you possibly can before those long straights when we are anticipating Catherine Theelking to then try and send another attack. Very smart racing indeed from Willow Keep. Of course, one round, was it 4 in Bahrain, if memory serves me correctly? We do see Rusty Bone just getting the better of Heather further back as well. And by the look of it, Carl, that car is no longer ghosted.
Oh yes, no more disconnect demons. That is a solid kick Sauber if I've ever seen one. Number 21 is number 11 on the road, sitting in the points on debut here in W1 Sim Series. Massively commendable effort, and that is even with a lengthy disconnect. Speed Queen, the first of the hard compound runners, is into the pit lane. Alexis Mason moves on through into P3, but look at the interval. It's nearly 16 seconds, now 15.5 seconds between Alexis Mason and the race leader. And I don't want to play devil's advocate, TK, but I feel like they've got to do a lot more work than that, because the mediums are so strong out of the gate.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one, because you're going to have to offset that delta, because we have to have the look at the likes of Melissa Muller, the likes of Speed Queen, Rebecca Morel. Those are the two drivers that have both opted off of the hard tyres onto the mediums at the moment. We'll pull up the tyres that everybody's on at the moment. So it's an entire whitewash amongst this field at the moment, bar two drivers, as we mentioned earlier, Morel and Muller, that are opting for the mediums so far, as Theelking gets the better of Willow Keeble in towards the run on the Lake Com chicane. Absolutely textbook stuff for the V-Car, promoting themselves up to 4th place. That makes it 3 and 4 for themselves on the road at the moment. Melissa Muller follows on through as well, and Miss Nutrix in towards the Lake Com chicane and sets a purple sector 1 at the same time as doing so. And this is indication almost certainly now that those medium tyres are going to be so quick compared to the hard tyres.
What the gap transfers like throughout the rest of the lap, how the pendulum swings. Melissa Muller in the lean green machine gains immediately to 6 temps, nearly to 7 temps, slightly reduces, but it's in the high speed stuff where the hards don't really have that surplus of grip, where the mediums will just bite into the bitumen. Again, gains a 10th just through Pouon alone, and it will almost quite comfortably, unless something goes horrifically wrong, be, well, comfortably with outside of DRS. A Speed Queen doesn't even need it. That's how strong the mediums are. Lee Woodward peels into the pit lane, going for the undercut on Emma Clay. We'll see where they peel out, though, in relation to Alexis Mason. Katie Grafton within DRS on Heather, looking for a move, and Heather says, I'm not bothered. I'm just here for the battle, personally. Alexis Mason moves on through. Lee Woodward exiting the pit lane, cuts inside quite aggressively at La Source. The gap is going to be, I imagine it will be several seconds, maybe towards 10. The answer is it's going to be about 6.5 seconds. Lee Woodward will be more than happy with that.
You're absolutely right. Melissa Muller then, fastest lap of the race so far for Team Kick Sauber, and that is showing that those medium tyres well and truly fired up. They've got 9/10 of a second quicker than the best lap time of Emma Clay, who leads this race. They've got about a second and a bit faster than the best race of Sharkstorm, and also, oh no, sorry, ignore me, 9/10 of a second quicker, yeah, than Emma Clay, a second and a bit quicker than the likes of Theelking, the likes of Speed Queen, and 7/10 quicker than the best of Willow Keeble, 2nd and 7/10. I'm really getting confused with numbers. It's really not my day today.
Numbers is just a concept, really. Like, who actually cares? Speed Queen, number 80. I don't know what happened to 1 through 79, but this ain't a bad iteration, let me tell you. Is breathing down the neck of Catherine Theelking. Just a quick visual indication, ladies and gentlemen, of how powerful the mediums are. Theelking goes slightly wide through Pouon. Speed Queen gains a 10.5 just through Pouon alone. On the brakes, they gain. Through the apex, they are gaining. Every single meter of track is where they are gaining. That is the power of the mediums. Of course, 2 compounds is a 10-second time penalty for Stark Loki, burdened by glorious purpose and also a pit lane speed.
Interesting to note as well, Emma Clay also into pit road. Fresh front wing going onto the car of Vanessa Hostetler. And Emma Clay peels out of pit road, and we can have a look here. You can see the car of Raccoon's Alexis Mason. Of course, started on the 2nd row of the grid, started in 4th place. And after 16 laps of racing, retakes P1 here. And Emma Clay is now the chasee after being the chaser for so long.
Couple of parts to this mission then. Part 1, get within DRS. Part 2, overtake. Part 3, sprint off into the Spa sunset and never look back. They've got to do that quickly, though. If the mediums are anything to go by at the start of the race, they have about 4 laps or so before they sort of fall off a bit of that first cliff. So Emma Clay has got to make hay while that sun shines. Speed Queen absolutely doing so. Up to P4 goes the Red Bull.
Certainly does so indeed. Grafo with the first penalty proper of the afternoon. If we exclude that 10-second penalty that Vanessa picked up for speeding in pit road, we haven't had many track limits warnings and or penalties. A number of our drivers still sitting with 0 warnings as a second driver gets. I feel like I jinxed that one.
Nicole Machuca with a 3-second time penalty. It's poetry in motion here in W1. Meanwhile, the wheels are in motion for Nicole Machuca as she crosses the line in P14. Still a couple of points on the board, no real threat from behind, so all is good. Hevar now with the DRS opportunity on Katie Grafton up ahead. Currently in an American sandwich, but it's a feeling that she no longer wants to be a part of. DRS open, burning of the battery to be done, closing in all the time. She said she's not going to shy away from a move. If it presents itself, she'll absolutely be there. And it's a clinical and academic move from Hevar for P number 12.
That is stunning. Locks the front right tyre as well as they tried to get the car slowed down. Dealt with it like an absolute pro as Melanie Janda also gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limits violations. Sharkstorm is now the fastest woman on the circuit for Team McLaren as they're in chase of Emma Clay and of course Alexis Mason that still leads. But Emma Clay last time around was so much quicker than Alexis Mason, gained already a second over the previous lap. Won't necessarily have DRS this time. No, the rear wing stays closed. They weren't able to get within a second at that detection point, but this is going to be a run through this section, through this tour of the circuit for Emma Clay, who's trying to chase down the likes of Emma Mason, who's been so quick today. It's been unreal.
They might just be playing this a little bit safe, which I don't blame, knowing how aggressive the mediums are. Just going to wait to get the tyres, just gently caress them in to the operating window, and then go on the attack. Lee Woodward's tyres are 1 lap older, and if there's any tyre wear advantage to be gained, she absolutely wants it. She is protected by the fact that she will have DRS. Lee Woodward will have a much more difficult job of overtaking her as a result. Comfortable gap. The top 3 are in a class of their own. Speed Queen in also a land of their own in P4. Phil King, Willow Keeble, again, all stabilising a little bit. We're seeing that medium hard tyre potentially fall by the wayside, though, at P7 and 8. Melissa Muller, which is, as Matt Zuvo quite rightly says, has an umlaut in her name, so I presume that is in fact pronounced Muller, so apologies for Melissa Muller. But in P7, Miss Nutrix on the hards, that momentum has now shifted. It's not like there have been many laps on those mediums, but it seems like a bit of a foregone conclusion, doesn't it? Emma Clay is on the move.
She absolutely is. She's got the likes of Mason lined up in towards the first corner. I think we ought to see that pause, that wait for the DRS down the long Kemmel straight. I say that there was an incredible amount of traction on that Aston Martin car coming out of the source, but the run down towards Rouge and Radion now. Fresh medium tyres versus aging older tyres, harder tyres on the car of Mason as they crest the top of the hill here. Both cars, the Aston Martin and the McLaren, will get their rear wing open. Are we going to see Sharkstorm come on through? They go 2 wide. They look to go 3 wide for a moment as Sharkstorm comes on through as well. Round the outside goes Emma Clay. Behind them are 2 abreast. Sharkstorm has to go off the circuit. Gets a 3-second penalty for the privilege, but stays in second place. Hands that place back. That is racemanship. That is craftsmanship.
Couldn't agree more with you, but yeah, I feel like Alexis Mason just bit off a bit more than she could chew into the braking zone as well. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but great respect between the 2 of them regardless. That was Lee Woodward's chance though. That's why she was so desperate to get on that move, because if they did, they could pile on that pressure on Emma Clay. Let her not save the tyres, but that could be Emma Clay in the clear, as Matt Zuvo says. That is a phrase I never thought I'd use, but I'm glad I've used it. Rather satisfying. Miss Nutrix, Sand still breathing down the neck of the Kick Sauber. Like we say, those mediums aren't that old. Hard tyres are coming back into their own here. But with how late Emma Clay pit and how late Lee Woodward pit, you have to say it's a foregone conclusion. You just can never tell in league racing. That's why we love it so much.
Yeah, Melissa Muller, of course, one of the first drivers to pit onto those medium tyres, has completed 5 tours, making it 5.5 tours of this Spa-Francorchamps circuit so far, with Nutrix on 8-lap old hard tyres, so probably reaching that sort of equilibrium at the moment as we see Sharkstorm once again going for a move on Alexis Mason, this time in towards the first corner, and this time Mason has no response for the McLaren driver, but all this battling is only helping and aiding Clay to try and run away. As you can see, the deficit now 2.4 seconds and climbing as they crest the top of the hill. Which of these cars is going to have DRS? It'll be Mason, who can get this position back almost instantly, you would have thought, as they run down the Kemmel straight towards Lake Com. It's Mason back in second place now.
Brilliant stuff from Alexis Mason. I thought also a touch desperate from Lee Woodward. Played the DRS game, got played into the DRS game, in fact, as we see a little replay of the incident. There it is. Just Alexis Mason overcooking the braking zone, perhaps a touch, in a vain attempt to keep P2. Lee Woodward, as a result, having to cut the track. No driver wanting to yield in the end. Sportsmanship takes over. It's absolutely brilliant between the two of them. But again, just a touch desperate. We know that DRS game, you have to play it to perfection. And I know why Lee Woodward wants to do it. She wants to get up the road, with regardless of that 3-second penalty. She just wants to have that 3 seconds and keep P2 to limit the damage in the championship. But to get the move done at La Source, it's all good learning. Now they'll know to stick behind. But that was one lap they could ill afford to let go.
You're absolutely right. You don't want to try and make a move at the source unless you absolutely have to. The car you feel is going to slow you down, for example, through Eau Rouge and Radion. We know the pace of Mason already. She might be a new reservist and has only done 19 laps in the W1 Sim Series, but she has shown her pace already, shown her true colours, and I think if she's been in from the start, she could certainly be in championship contention here, Carl. There's no debating that, and once again, Woodward going for the move with his first bout of DRS down towards La Source. Are they going to try and go around the outside? Surely not. They'll learn from last time. The switchback is going to be set up. They try to cut back, and I think a little mistake there from Alexis Mason, but they run side by side, and surely the same situation is going to come into its own now as they run up the top of the hill. The V car behind is going to get that DRS and re-overtake as well.
Seen this one before. It's a classic. They get DRS down the Kemmel Straight and they overtake down the inside for P2 once again. Alexis Mason. They might have made contact with the inside wall at the source as well to get into that ghosting phase, regardless of how it happened. Alexis Mason's back into P2, and I think very interestingly, they're playing the game as early as the exit off the bus stop. I thought they were really slow coming out of that traction zone. Just again, dangling the carrot for Lee Woodward to make that move stick. So playing the DRS game, and this could not only damage Lee Woodward's race in terms of not getting P2, Speed Queen is now only 6.8 seconds behind, which might still seem like a pretty decent golf away. But that is a rapid rate of catching if they continue to play DRS games the way they are.
You're absolutely right. There's no stopping these two at the moment. And as you said, Rebecca Morel continuing to try and close it down further back. Miss Nutrix not far off the back of Melissa Muller as well for 8th and 7th respectively on the circuit. But with that bout of DRS, as they run down the Kemmel Straight, I was surprised that Nutrix just wasn't sitting in the slipstream of the car in front, not wanting to go for that overtake. And I wonder if this is just setting up a move for later on in the race. Of course, we've only got 2.5 laps of racing to go here in Spa, so this could be very strategic play. Further back, Katie Grafton as well, looking to set up a move on Hevar in the weather that is absolutely lovely here in Spa-Francorchamps in the run towards Lake Com. They've also got the Alpine for company. I believe that to be Aliti, the wonder from Down Under, who, albeit having a trial by fire here this afternoon, is doing well in their first race.
Couldn't agree more. This is exactly why you don't give up. There's so much learning to be had, even when things don't go your way. Perhaps you just learn a little bit more about the track. Sharkstorm goes for it again, though. It's Miss Nutrix also on the move. Down the inside at bus stop, Melissa Muller will gain it back with the switchback at the bus stop chicane. But what Miss Nutrix needs to do now is not get suckered up into DRS games, and we have been here before, ladies and gentlemen. A switchback at the exit of the La Source corner. Miss Nutrix opts to stay behind, but Alexis Mason and Sharkstorm, it's happened again! A 3-second penalty! Drama at the Lake Com chicane! That's now 6 seconds to the good, and if it wasn't damaging enough, as there is an absolutely superlative manoeuvre being pulled off round the outside, barging on the exit. No love lost between these two in what has been a cutthroat encounter. Speed Queen now within 6 seconds. The damage is going to be only exacerbated here.
You're absolutely right. You can see the deficit up to Emma Clay in front, cresting over 7.5 seconds. Once again, Mason down the inside of Woodward as they head through this third and final sector. They're continuing to battle. They know they've got 1.5 laps to go in this race, and they know that they want to try and finish ahead on circuit. The penalties will come into their own. Let's not debate that at the moment. But I think at the moment, Woodward just wants to finish second place on circuit.
Absolutely agree with you on that. 1.5 temps to the good. They just be smart about it. Well, Melanie Jander is there with a bucket of popcorn. They've let Speed Queen through because what kind of advantage could they take? Down the inside, at the bus stop chicane goes Lee Woodward. Massive lock-up on the left front tyre. Basically no quarter left again by any of them. This time, trying to shoot off into the Spa sunset is the McLaren driver. None on the ERS. Late on the brakes is Alexis Mason. Practically pushing the McLaren through La Source corner. The traction favours the Papaya Pro though. Emma Clay is just swanning off to a superlative Spa-Francorchamps victory. It has been a race to remember for the Aston Martin driver. Her second win of this series awaits. But between Alexis Mason and Sharkstorm, where will it end? Towards the Kemmel Straight, to the end of the Kemmel Straight, still argy-bargy, round the outside, goes Alexis Mason, judged it to perfection on the distance, switchback central for the McLaren Maestro. Can they make it happen? Around the outside of the right-hander, TK. It's going to be a gladiatorial affair to the end.
Even more contact between the two cars. They run through that second sector, and it's still Alexis Mason on debut that is challenging our current championship leader to the grass. Now goes Lee Woodward. Contact between the two cars as the front wheels of Sharkstorm eclipse that of the V car just in front of them. And we see penalties coming the way of Catherine Thielking for track limits violations. We've still got a battle here between Nutrix and Melissa Muller as well. Those two continue to fight it out, but we've got to focus here, Carl, to Emma Clay. Surely this is going to be win 2.
So nice. It's about time they did it twice. So desperately unlucky at times. Maybe pace hasn't favoured them on some circuits. At Spa-Francorchamps, though, through the final corner. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's a green machine to win at the Belgian Grand Prix. Emma Clay says to the championship leader, I lay this gauntlet at the start of the second stanza. Alexis Mason on debut takes P2. Speed Queen as a result of the penalties for Sharkstorm takes P3. Maybe there's stewards' inquiries to be had, but it is another podium for Rebecca Morel. The pole position curse continues. Massively outbreaking themselves, it's Miss Nutrix in a vain attempt. But what a dynamic duel between these two. Out of the final corner, Melissa Muller wins it out. What a race we've had once again, TK. But again, the pole position curse continues. Never has the pole sitter won a race so far this series.
You are absolutely right. Will we ever see a pole sitter win a race here in W1? Well, you're going to have to tune in to the next 4 races to find out. The final few drivers coming across the line, then Sarah Hardy will finish in P10 unless Rusty Bone can have anything to do with it. Of course, the top 15 score points here in W1. So I believe 3 of our reservists have scored very good points here this afternoon. We'll have Sarah Hardy coming through bus stop chicane now. The likes of not Katie Grafton, my apologies. It will be Regan Boylan who had that disconnect earlier on. What could have been here, Carl, for that kick Sauber if it wasn't for that disconnect? Because they finished 11th place, only a second and a half behind Sarah Hardy. Could they maybe sneaked into the top 10 on debut?
Heather extremely close to getting Katie Grafton on the track, but inherits P12 as a result of the penalties. Yet more points for Heather. So nice. She's done it thrice. Even more phenomenal points on the board for the Mercedes driver who keeps building from strength to strength, as does every single driver in this series. Welcome, Melanie Jander's channel. I hope your stream all went well. But on the podium, the top 3, the superlative showmanship awaits. And it's a second win of the season for Emma Clay, when Lee Woodward was gaining all the momentum, when their fortune and fairy tale had been completed at Silverstone. Emma Clay raises the bar at Spa.
That she does. The champagne flies and a well-deserving second win for Emma Clay after a fantastic victory in Japan. She's doubled down and got a second win to her name. Not only that, she also picks up, well, no, her teammate picks up cleanest driver, Miss Nutrix. Most overtakes goes to Catherine Theo King, of course, starting in 5th, finishing in 5th as well. So consistency points for Theo King. We got Alexis Mason, driver of the day, started 4th, finished 2nd, with Lee Woodward setting the fastest lap with a 1:43.883. And your complete rundown then of the top 18. We've got Clay, Mason, we've got Morell, Woodward, Theo King, Keeble, Muller, Nutrix, Ball, and Hardy as your top 10. We then have Boylan, Heather, Grafton, my apologies, Machuca, Marchi, Janda, Hostetler, and Aliti as your complete 18. I'm going to have to learn the new reserves names. I've got them all written down, I promise. Muscle memory will kick in eventually, I promise.
I trusted you to get them right, TJ.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. God, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I hope you tuned in for this. I hope you spent your 99p well at the score, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great race. Again, no matter the track, they always bring the beautiful battles. Just fantastic.
They certainly do. And one that I think I'm going to have to update my fact sheet for next week, which is so lovely coloured. I'll send this to you. I forgot to. Which has got all of some lovely details on for all of our drivers. As you can hear, my voice is also starting to go after that. It was already gone on Tuesday. I recovered it well for today. It lasted just long enough for the race. So we'll see if we get people in for an interview, because, of course, we love to speak to the top 3. I'm sure Emma will hop in for a bit of a chat, as she so usually does, because it is fantastic to speak to our race winner, but also, of course, Alexis Mason and Rebecca Morell, the top 3 that stood firm here this afternoon. Absolutely stunning drive from all 3.
But not agree more with you. Absolutely. For Emma Clay, it seemed like the regular run-of-the-mill rap. I'm sure it wasn't in many ways, but it was so cool and composed. It seems to be the way. When she, of course, Japan was a completely different story, but she always keeps that cool head, always keeps herself on a level playing field, on a mental perspective, and it works out so well for her. Got Alexis Mason in contrast. What a duel that was. I mean, there were fireworks. That is one to discuss, because that seemed like it almost boiled over several times. I
think you're right, and you know what, it's an interesting one. I wondered why Woodward was fighting that so hard, with first 3 seconds to her name, but then 6 seconds as well. That double cut at Les Combes, I think that not necessarily was an instant 3 seconds on both those occasions, because they've only got 3 warnings to their name. So I think at least one of those was an instant corner cutting penalty, not necessarily a track limits penalty. So there may be a steward's inquiry into either one of those, but I think from what we saw on the broadcast, it was pretty clear cut that they took that corner, tried to, well, extend track limits, so to say, and then kept on trying to battle with Alexis Mason as well. So who knows? We're not stewards. I'm so glad we're not stewards, because it's a very, very selfless job.
I honestly don't envy what the stewards do.
No.
I'm happy to sit back and let the carnage unfold, but they do a phenomenal job at what they do. They really do. It's always picked out well, always calculated correctly, always fair and to the point. They know how to do it, so credit to them. I'm glad I'm not a part of it, but credit to them, honestly. Does make standings quite interesting. Here's another fun fact for you, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Woodward, in all the times that they have raced, whenever they finished on the podium, always has been a win. Every other time, finished on the podium this season. It is either all in or nothing, in effect.
I think we had that, who was it in the first round that didn't finish but then came back to win? Maybe I'm thinking of something. Oh, I think of Creator Series. My apologies. That was someone else.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of a different race.
Yes, I know what you mean.
They're all on F1 25, but alas, some absolutely fantastic racing. We haven't got anyone in for a chat, which is quite sad to see, because I really would have loved to speak to pretty much all 3 of them tonight, because they all had very differing stories to tell. But Carl, just before we go, obviously we've had 5 new reservists step in this afternoon. Some fantastic drivers. We've got Alexis Mason, Vanessa Hostetler, Katie Grafton, Regan Boylan, and of course Aliti, the Australian wonder that's joined us for the first time. All of them finishing the race, all of them finishing fantastically, and I believe 3 of them scoring points in their first round as well. That's stunning, isn't it?
Absolutely, and more to the point than that, some of them, it's their first ever sim race or league race that they have ever done. Put that kind of pressure on yourself, and it's not like it's a small stage you're making your way up to on that pedestal. Done a wonderful job, not just to be here tonight, but also to finish the race, to get the results that you have. So massive, massive well done to every single one of you. Honestly, it takes a lot to be up here.
Carl, we've got an interviewee, Alexis, who's been watching the broadcast, has decided they want to come for a chat. So my voice is going, so I'll let you lead this if you're okay with that. But hold on, for the first time, if I can get Discord to recognise that I need to drag the name far enough, because it doesn't seem to like it. Give me 2 seconds, everybody. There we go. We have Alexis, of course, P2 on debut, up from P4. Carl, take it away.
I will indeed. Some podium panache on debut, Alexis. I bet that feels good. Tell us how it felt out there.
Yeah, after muting the stream because I have to hear your voice once, not twice. That was an interesting race. It was tough, but I think the race start was very beneficial, getting up to P1 on the first lap, which was surprising.
Yes, was that always going to be the strat today, using that faster tyre compound first and then weathering the storm with the hard compound tyres? Was there ever a debate about switching that around, going with the rest of the fold?
I was always going to start on the medium tyre because, quite frankly, as you saw on that one, the pace advantage was huge. And I don't often take risks, so I did that. Bit shame no rain. Would have liked some rain there. But other than that, it was a decent race. There was some hard fighting at the end, but I think there was a couple dodgy moments from both of us. I loved being smashed. But yeah, we'll leave those to the stewards because I'm definitely going to report something.
Sure, no, I get that. But it also looked like, from the outside anyway, it looked like there was some mind games going on in terms of the DRS. So how did you, obviously you didn't, it looked like you changed your approach as you went through it, but how did you change that lap after lap? That variation looked super important.
Realising against Emma, I did need to play DRS games because Emma breezed past me, and I tried to change where I gave the I took the DRS every lap to enable me to overtake. And I think there was one lap where I did make a mistake. I just over braked and dropped 6 cents back, but DRS is so OP around here.
Absolutely. TK, obviously, I imagine you have a question possibly for Alexis after a superlative showing on debut. So over to you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations. It's quite an achievement to come in and not only score a podium, but P2 on your debut, so you must be feeling happy with that. Just talk us through when you were having that battle with Shark Stormley Woodward. Obviously, there was an exchange of DRS that quite happened as you headed into La Source. It was a case of they dive you into the first corner, you'd then get DRS up towards Lake Com. Was there a moment that you kind of were feeling relief that you had that second dose of DRS because they went for the overtake too early?
It's an interesting one because DRS, of course, it's gone on next year's game, or the F1 update,
DLC.
whatever you want to call it, DLC. I don't keep track. I just drive. But of course, it was a lot of tactics. Like, I was in a geography exam 4 hours ago, and I'm not even joking. I've got the timetable on my phone, and no practice. Come in, get P2. That was cool.
No.
How about that? How about that? Geography in the exam room, knows the geography of the racetrack to a T. Alexis Mason, absolutely brilliant stuff. Final question from me is, well, two kind of parts really. Number one, will we see you signing up again for W1? And secondly, if you do, Monza next week. How do you feel for that?
I've actually been racing Monza a lot recently. I think my best time's about a 141, 142, because it's been an LMU. And
It has.
around Curva Grande circuit, so. And yeah, I was actually thinking about doing a 4-hour race in LMU around Monza, not Monza, Bahrain. We'll ignore that mistake. But
I
maybe
said it's Bahrain
depends.
out this weekend.
Yeah, it's Bahrain Outer this weekend, which I want to do with Willow, one of our other drivers here. But yeah, I might sign up for Monza, I might not. It depends on whether I've got to do stuff with my boyfriend.
No worries. Fair enough. Well, there we go. TK, any final things from your side?
No, nothing further. It's been absolutely fantastic to see you on track, Alexis, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we see you out on track as well. Absolutely congratulations from all of us.
Thank you.
Thanking you. Well, everybody, that was Alexis Mason. P2 on debut, started in 4th, climbed 2 positions with an incredible battle between herself and Lee Woodward that ended very closely to fireworks, but thankfully the fuses weren't quite lit yet. who knows, if they butt heads once again on circuit, we could see fireworks fly in future races. You'll have to tune in and find out for all of those. Carl, before we say our goodbyes and say our sign-offs, I ask you this pretty much every week. Standouts of the race, who are you going for?
I think it has to be Emma Clay. Emma Clay definitely has to be up there, number one. Just did everything she needed to do. It looked like a cool and composed race, really. And that's what separates great drivers from good drivers, is making something look so effortless. Emma Clay's definitely up there. Alexis Mason, I think, has to be up there. Even Regan Boylan, on debut, had the disconnect, nearly got within a whisker of getting DRS for the top 10. So she's definitely up in my estimations as well.
Absolutely. I think, for me, it's the drivers that weren't necessarily in the points in the top 15 positions. You know, the likes of Aliti, the likes of Vanessa Host Stetler. My apologies if I've got that wrong. I'm not very good with European or Swiss names, or English names for that matter. But those two drivers, absolutely fantastic grit and determination to make it to the end of the race in their first race, because it is so easy just to pull into the pits and press that retire button, right? It's a feature of the game that makes it so easy to retire from a race, but they stuck with it. They did the full 22 laps, the 7 kilometers each tour of the circuit, and they made it to the end, which is absolutely phenomenal to see. So I'd say those two are probably my drivers of the day.
I like that. I like that. To be honest, I think I can't remember who it was. There was a message from somebody during the race. I'm so sorry, I can't remember whose name it was. I think it might well have been Matt Zuvo. But what they said, I think, summed it up for me perfectly. And that is, everyone should be extremely proud of how they've driven today. Regardless of where they finished, they have to be super proud.
I think you're absolutely right. Sarah Hardy is saying no Williams love today, Carl.
Excuse me, I've been singing your praises. I've been saying there was one in the top 10. We love to see it. And many more things besides. I'm not biased, I promise you.
No, not the slightest.
But Williams in the top 10. I feel like I have to get more excitement now. Top 10 for Williams. Well done yourself. I'm a happy bunny.
You're a happy buddy for Cutie Buddy. There we go. Poetry in motion, everybody. Carl, they should go check you out, but where can they check you out online if they want to do so just a little bit more so?
Where you can't find me, and that is the outskirts obfuscated by ocelots. That is Oman. You won't find me there. But where you will find me is at my name, Carl Paranik. I have a pretty distinctive name. You type it, you'll probably find me there. Did not think I was going to be here for 6 in a row for W1, but God, am I immensely grateful I am. Thank you so much for having me, W1. Shout outs to Sim Racing Centre. Most importantly, shout outs to all of you, because your support has been immense. You are the ones that make this happen. Thank you. PK, where can we find you on an interweb?
Well, I'll tell you where you can't find me. That's the boatyards of the Bermuda. You won't find me there anymore. But I'll tell you where you can find me online is anymore. I was there the other day. You can check me out at They Call Me TK just down below our names. As you can tell, we have far too much fun with the starting off. So my voice is literally going, so I'm going to have to wrap this up really quickly. Check us out on social media. If you're following on YouTube, drop us a subscribe and a like. If you're watching on Twitch, drop us a follow. Have that notification bell on as well. If you're not following us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace, LinkedIn, again, because I got called old for saying it last time, so I'm going to say it again. Follow us on all of those. If you're not following the drivers, follow them. Shout out to everyone behind the scenes as well, because they do an absolutely stellar job. The likes of Victoria, Lee. Literally, this wouldn't run without them. We're just the faces that do all the talking stuff, albeit probably not for much longer. So until we see you next time, hopefully with more of a voice from all of us here at W1, it's good night and God bless.